Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome yet again to another session of Lunch Guide. My name is Chef Andy, and today we're going to be doing something really interesting among one of our many dishes that we'll be showcasing on this season, which is 10 ways with rice. For that, I have something in store for you that you'll all love, which is basically a spiced pilaf rice, which we're going to be serving with some lemon. But before we get to that stage, we're going to start by introducing some of the ingredients which we'll be working with today. And we'll start from the very front. So in the small bowl there, we've got some chestnuts. We've also got a nice, beautiful piece of tilapia, some beautiful jasmine rice there, and some butter. I'm also going to be using some minced garlic and minced ginger. We're going to be using some curry paste, 1 piece of lemon you'll need for this recipe as well, a bit of some oregano, some soy sauce, some apricots, some curry powder there, and some pilau masala there. You're also going to be using some grated carrot, a bit of some salt and pepper for seasoning, some water to cook your rice in, a bit of some fresh coriander, and last but not least, some white onions. So we're going to take a break now, give you a bit of time to refresh for the show, and when we come back, we're going to dive right into it. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Good day everyone, and welcome yet again. My name is Chef Andy, and as I said, we are going to be making a very, very nice and simple dish today. We're going to be making some spicy pilaf. So we're going to start that off very, very simply. For that, you will need a pot for cooking your rice in, of course. And all you're going to do at this stage is add your rice to the pan and measure out, using the same container, 2 parts of water. Simple as that. Be sure to also scrape off the rice bits that are stuck in the bottom of your container. Be sure not to waste those at all. Right, once that is done, very simply proceed to light your grill and allow your rice to start cooking. But very, very importantly, always remember to season. So we're going to add a small pinch of salt, and we're just going to allow that to continue cooking. But in the meantime, I'm going to take you straight into the very, very simple technique of marinating our fish. And my choice of marinade for today is just a very, very simple lemon butter. So very, very simple. You will need, of course, 1 beautiful slice of tilapia. And to that, you will proceed to season with some salt. Add to that also some freshly ground black peppercorns. And to that, you will require to add also a bit of garlic and about half a tablespoon of ginger. And last but not least, some oregano, a tiny little bit of soy sauce, and you're actually also going to be adding a bit of lemon. So very simply proceed to slice your lemon piece in half and reserve some of that for later. And using a small sieve, squeeze your lemon right through it, making sure, of course, not to add your seeds in there. And once done, proceed to discard everything else. And very simply, using your hands, proceed to work that marination right around your fish. Of course, making sure to rub the marination on the surface of the fish, of course. Turning it over and doing the same on the other end. And all you need to do now is rinse your hands really quickly and proceed to cover that with some cling film. Allow it about anywhere between 10 and 15 minutes to just marinate really quickly. So proceed to cover your container with some cling film. This is particularly very, very handy, especially if you're trying to really be hygienic while cooking. And also it also aids you in making sure that the marination really is well adapted to the environment, of course, by restricting a lot of air into it. So this is a very, very simple way of marinating. You can also optionally decide to leave this in the fridge overnight, or you can actually leave it just next to your working surface and only come back to it a little later. So we're just going to set that on the side and simply proceed to chop up some of the ingredients which we'll be using for the pilaf. So we're going to start with our white onion. So very simply cut it halfway lengthways, and holding it lengthways in front of you using a sharp knife, proceed to cut it into some very thin half moon shapes. Turn it around and proceed to do the same to the end, and do the same for the other piece. Turn it around when you get halfway. Proceed to do the same, and do the same thing for the other piece of onion. And continue to chop till you get to the very end. Alright, once that's done, proceed to begin to reheat your pan. Of course, adding into your pan a bit of some oil. I prefer to use olive oil for this particular recipe. And of course, just about a heaped teaspoon of butter. And proceed now to allow your pan to heat up. Of course, swirling your pan right around, making sure that all the surface of your pan is coated in that beautiful butter and the oil. And just give that a bit of time to melt down. Can proceed now to combine all the other ingredients together. Alright, next up you will require just a little bit of your ginger as well. So just pour the rest of your remaining ginger. Remember, we're using a tablespoon for the recipe. So we only added half of the mixture, half of the portion to the marinade, and we're going to reserve the other half, which is the one you're going to add to your pan. And very simply add your onions into your pan and proceed to fry them, of course tossing your pan or mixing with a spoon. Right, once done, proceed to grab some of your tomato puree and using a spoon, scoop that right into the pan. And proceed to toss everything together once more. Now basically all you need to do is allow your onions to continue cooking, really allow them to really get fragrant in the pan, and you can proceed to season those lightly with a bit of some freshly ground black peppercorns and a small pinch of salt. Now proceed to toss everything together. Right, once that's almost done, proceed to add in your grated carrot. So I'm using about half a cup for this recipe. We're also going to be adding in a few of these beautiful dried apricots. So I'm using about one handful or about a quarter cup. And all you're going to do is cut them halfway lengthways. We're actually going to use about half that portion actually. And add those into your pan and proceed to toss everything once more. And with dried apricots, they're actually a very good addition to food. They're very, very nutritious, especially in relation to giving you some very, very good concentrated sugars. And these are actually now easy to find in most of your retail outlets. Right, so remember something with pilaf, it's a very, very simple technique. It's just a process of incorporating a bit of some beautifully cooked vegetables with your rice. And on a regular basis, you will find most pilafs actually serving the onions and the tomatoes right with the pilaf. For this particular recipe, we've altered the tomatoes for some grated carrots. Right, so this basically is going to be mixed into our rice. Remember, our rice is now halfway cooked. So I'm just easily going to grab a spoon. We're going to turn that off. So I'm easily going to grab a spoon and pour the mixture right into the other pot with the rice. And all you need to do at this stage is give that a quick mix. Making sure, of course, to thoroughly mix this well, and make sure to always do this before your rice is actually cooked through. Very crucial to actually add it at this stage because your rice can only incorporate so much at this particular stage. And just proceed to mix everything together. Right, so at this stage you need to actually remember for this particular process, your rice actually will lose quite a bit of moisture from incorporating the ingredients. Remember, the ingredients were actually just dried really, really dry. So you will actually need to add just a little bit of water to your pan. And then proceed to just put a lid on top and allow your rice to cook until it's fully cooked through. And while that continues, we're just going to change our pans around, and we will proceed to reheat a fresh pan. So at this stage we are going to proceed to cook our fish. So very, very simply, grab your fish fillet and take off the lid, or the cling film rather. And now we're going to just fry this the old-fashioned way with a bit of butter. So I'm going to add a nice big heaped teaspoon of some unsalted butter. For this particular recipe, I'm going to be working with unsalted butter. And of course, a tiny bit of some olive oil. And the beautiful thing about the two of these actually melting together, they do give quite a nice, beautiful, buttery fragrance to your fish. And it actually really aids in giving it quite a bit of some flavor. So I'm just going to proceed to melt my butter, of course, moving my pan around, aiding the butter to melt a little faster. And as soon as your knob of butter is totally melted, proceed to grab a piece of tongs and, of course, placing your fish onto the pan skin side down first. And all you need to do at this stage is allow your fish to continue cooking for anywhere between 5 to 6 minutes on the first side before turning. But while this continues to cook, we're actually going to take a quick short break now and allow that to continue frying on the pan. And when we do come back, we'll clean up the station here, and I'm going to take you through the last and final stage of finishing this very, very simple dish. So do bear with us, and please do not touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just tuning in, we've actually been just finishing off a beautiful piece of filet that's been cooking now. And we also have our pilaf rice that's already cooked on the side. And we're in the last and final stage of finishing this very simple dish. So now our fish is now ready. I'm just going to turn off the pan completely. And now, as you can see, the pilaf is now nicely colorful, looking very aromatic. And I'm just going to proceed to the last and final step, which is just the plating of this beautiful dish. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to be using a mold to plate for this particular technique. And I'm going to very simply just proceed to add some of my pilaf rice in there. And remember, as I always say on the show, you're not really restricted to plate the way we are doing. We're just doing this for you to just get a bit of ideas of how best to serve or plate on your end. So I'm going to give that a nice beautiful heap. All we are going to do now is just press that nice and easy using a spoon, and all I'm going to do now is lift my mold. Simple as that. And the last and final, but almost last and final step, to add our piece of fish, which I'm going to just place right on top of the rice like that to one end. Simple as that. And now just to put the last and final itsy bits or last finishing bits, I'm going to be adding a bit of some chestnuts as well. These are actually very, very good and tasty, and they actually really give a refreshing, a beautiful refreshing feel, just like you would if you had a bit of some cucumber or salad on the side. So those I will just simply place right over the front like that, and also proceed off to add to that some of this beautiful fresh coriander. Remember, coriander is actually very refreshing, especially with fish and lemon. So I'm actually just going to pair the three just as I mentioned them. So just easily place your beautiful pieces of, your shoots of coriander. And now to finish that off, very simply proceed to slice about 2 slices of your lemon. Always be sure to take off the seeds. Remember, these are quite unpleasant, especially when you have food served and you have to remove them yourself. And once that is done, proceed to just add your lemon wedges right over the sides like that. And you can actually now just add a little bit of, just a bit of soy sauce right on the side there to go with your fish. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is as simple as it's done. So thank you so much for tuning in today. If some of you are still trying to remember the name of the dish, it is a very, very simple pilaf, spiced pilaf rice with some fish, which I marinated with some lemon and herb. And that is as easy as I would serve it. I will thank you once again for tuning in today, and thank you so much for you as well who are tuning in live on Facebook. Thank you so much for being with us today. And until the next episode, it's me, Chef Andy from the studio. Have a lovely afternoon and see you soon.